There's a clay pot buried in the ground about 40 steps behind my house, out past the smokehouse under an old hickory tree here in the eastern Oklahoma hills. My grandmother's father dug that hole, dried corn, kept good in it for 3 winters at a stretch, with no electricity, no freezer, and no bill coming in the mail. That hole in the ground is a food storage system with 10,000 years of testing behind it. And yet, in plenty of counties in this country, some version of what I'm going to show you today could get me a citation from an inspector with a clipboard. Today, I'm walking you through 25 of the old ways, things our people used every single day of their lives, that have been banned, permitted, fined, or regulated somewhere in America. Rainwater off your own roof, firewood lying dead on the ground, a garden in the front yard, a fish trap in a creek. Some of these are going to make you shake your head. But stay with me all the way down to number 1, because at the end I'm going to tell you the real reason so many free, working, time-tested methods ended up on the wrong side of a rule book. It comes down to one single word. And once you hear that word, you will see it everywhere you look for the rest of your life. I'm Wes Kingfisher. I'm 64 years old. I'm of Cherokee heritage. And I was raised by my grandmother Ada in these same hills where I still live today, with the garden, the smokehouse, the creek, and a wall of jars she would be proud of. She taught me the plants in the kitchen. My grandfather and my uncles taught me the woods. 40 years on the powwow trail taught me the rest. From the northern plains to the desert southwest. The old ones never wrote this down. So listen close. Now let me be straight with you about that word illegal, because I don't play games with my friends. Much of what I'm about to show you is perfectly legal right where you live, and I want you to check your own state and county rules before you try any of it, the same way you check the ice before you walk out on a pond. That's not fear, that's woodsman sense. But every single one of these 25 has been restricted, permitted, or flat out banned somewhere in this country. A man in Oregon spent 30 days in jail over collecting rainwater. Families in Florida have been fined for growing vegetables where the neighbors could see them. And for close to 100 years, it was a crime in California to light the kind of fire our people used to keep the forests alive, the very fires the state is now asking to have back. Hold on to that fire story. It returns at number 1, and it is the key that opens this whole box. 25 old ways. Water, plants, food, shelter, and fire. Every one of them free or close to it, and every one tested longer than this country has existed. Now, everything I'm showing you today is drawn from a book I put together called The Native American Way. 101 remedies, skills, and recipes that kept my people alive for 10,000 years, because the old ones never wrote any of it down and somebody had to. It's the knowledge my grandmother Ada and the elders of Indian country handed me around 1,000 fires, written out plain, step by step, the backyard plants and exactly how the old ones used them, the teas and salves from Ada's kitchen, the wild foods and when to gather them, food put up the old way, fire and shelter and water skills, and the recipes that fed the people through every winter. All of it in one book for $17, marked down from $47. $17 against a pharmacy aisle and a sporting goods store for knowledge that took 10,000 years of testing. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you're watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time, there is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, number 25, catching the rain. For most of human history on this continent, when water fell out of the sky, you kept some. Our people set out gourds, hide containers, and clay vessels under every drip line of the lodge. Today, that means a barrel under your downspout two 55-gallon barrels will catch more water off an average roof in one good Oklahoma storm than you'd believe. That's 2 barrels, 55 gallons each. And yet for years in Colorado, it was against the law to put a barrel under your own gutter, because under Western water law, that rain was already spoken for downstream. Oregon jailed a man over his collection ponds. The rules have loosened, but they're still there. Water off your roof is for the garden and the animals, not for drinking straight, and I'll tell you, the old ones knew that too. They let water settle, and they knew which water to trust. Number 24, the second life of wash water. My grandmother never poured water out once. Wash water went to the beans. Rinse water went to the squash hills by the porch. Nothing that could feed the garden ever hit the ground without a job. Today they call that gray water, and in a good many states, running a pipe from your sink to your tomatoes requires a permit, an approved system, and sometimes an engineer's drawing. Carrying it in a bucket in most places is still just called chores. Use plain soap, keep it off the leaves, pour it at the roots, and your garden will drink what the house was going to throw away. In a dry August, that bucket line is the difference between a green garden and a crisp one. Number 23, the seep well. Out in the desert Southwest, elders showed me how our people found water where there was no water. You don't dig in the stream, you dig beside it. Step about 2 feet back from the edge of a creek, or dig in the low outside bend of a dry creek bed and make a hole a couple feet deep. Let it fill slow through the sand. The sand filters it. Let it settle until it clears, and still boil it before you drink it. Boil it every time. Simple, ancient, and reliable. And in parts of the American West, the water under your own land is not entirely yours to take, because water rights out there are older than the states themselves. Knowledge is legal everywhere, though. Carry this one in your head. Number 22, the supermarket of the swamp. Cattail, that tall marsh plant with the brown seed head that looks like a corn dog on a stick. Our people ate the spring shoots like cucumber, ate the green flower spikes like corn, and pounded the roots for starch. One good stand of cattails is a produce aisle. Now listen close, because this is where the real teachers earn their keep. Before that brown head shows up, young cattail can be confused with blue flag iris, and iris will make you good and sick. Cattail leaves are flat and spongy, and the shoot smells clean like cucumber when cut. Iris leaves rise in a flat fan from a hard base. If there's no brown seed head anywhere in the stand and you're not certain, you walk away. And know this, in most state parks and plenty of public lands, gathering any plant at all is prohibited without a permit. The cattails in your own pond answer to nobody. Number 21, pine needle tea. In the 1500s, French sailors were dying of scurvy on the St. Lawrence River, and it was our people up north who saved them with a tea made from an evergreen. Pine needles carry vitamin C more than the oranges those sailors couldn't get. Chop a 1/4 cup of fresh green needles. That's 1/4 cup. Pour hot water over them, steep about 10 minutes, and never boil it hard, because heat drives off the good in it. Now the warning, and this one is life and death, so I'll say it slow. The U's an evergreen too, with flat dark needles and soft red berries, and U is deadly poison. No brown papery sheath at the needle base. Red berries instead of cones. You leave it alone. Learn pine before you drink pine. Take your time on that. There is no rush in the woods. Number 20, the tree that became aspirin, willow. Our people simmered the inner bark of willow for aches, sore backs, and fevers long before there was a drugstore to drive to. There's a compound in that bark called salicin, and in the 1800s, chemists took that old remedy, worked on it, and built aspirin from it. One of the biggest medicines on earth stands on 10,000 years of our testing. That's the guarantee on this one. A palm of inner bark, simmered gentle in 2 cups of water for 10 minutes, was Ada's answer for a hard day's back. 2 cups, 10 minutes. This is everyday comfort, not doctoring, and if you're on medications, have a word with your doctor before you add anything new. That's just respect. same as I'd tell my own family. And notice, nobody ever needed a permit for a willow tree, but try to bottle and sell that bark with a claim on the label, and you'll meet the government fast. Number 19, elderberry done right. Late summer, the elder bushes along my creek hang heavy with flat clusters of tiny purple-black berries. Our people cook them down for winter, and cooked is the whole lesson. Raw elderberry, and especially the stems, leaves, and roots, will turn your stomach inside out. You simmer the ripe berries, strain them, sweeten them, and put the syrup up in jars for cold months. Every October, my grandmother's kitchen smelled like that pot. One more warning while we're at it. In flower, elder can be confused at a distance with water hemlock, which is the deadliest plant on this continent. Elder is a woody shrub with bark. Hemlock is a smooth green stem, often purple-streaked, growing from wet ground. Woody shrub, good. Smooth, wet ground stalk, walk away. And selling homemade elderberry syrup without the right kitchen license is against the rules most everywhere. Making it for your own family is still your birthright. Number 18, bread from the oak trees. Every fall, tons of food drop out of the oaks and lie there while people drive past it to buy flour. Acorns fed whole nations. The trick the old ones knew is leaching. Acorns are full of tannins, bitter as a bad memory, and you draw them out with water. Shell the nuts, grind the meats, and soak them in cold water. Pour it off when it turns brown. Add fresh water and do it again. You change that water until it runs clear, and the meal tastes clean. No bitterness left at all. White oak acorns from the trees with rounded leaf lobes need less work than red oak. Dry the meal, and you've got a rich, sweet flour for breads and porridge. On your own land, free forever. In many parks and preserves, gathering them is technically prohibited. Think about that for a second. Number 17, the secret inside corn. Selu, that's our word for corn, fed this whole hemisphere. But there's a step the old ones never skipped. They simmered dried corn with hardwood ashes, or ash water, before eating it as hominy. That ash water is a gentle lye, and it changes the corn, loosens the hulls, and frees up a nutrient called niacin that's otherwise locked inside the kernel. When Europeans carried corn home without that step, whole regions got sick with a disease called pellagra. The corn was never the problem. Dropping the method was. About 2 tablespoons of clean hardwood ash to a quart of water. Simmer the corn until the skins slip, then wash it well and wash it again. 2 tablespoons, 1 quart. My grandmother's hominy went into soups all winter. Sell lye-treated food to the public, and inspectors will rightly want a word. Make it in your own kitchen, and you're just cooking older than the country. Number 16, meat dried in the open air. Thin strips of venison cut with the grain hung on wooden racks in sun, wind, and light smoke. That's jerky, and it's ours. The reason it works is simple. Bacteria need moisture, and dried meat gives them nothing to live on. The strips go thin as a pencil, the smoke keeps the flies off, and in dry weather 2 or 3 days finishes the job. But this was just the surface of the old preservation systems, and I'll show you the deeper ones next. Because in the modern day, dry meat at home for your own table, fine. Sell 1 bag of it without a licensed and inspected facility, and you've broken the law in every state I know of. The knowledge stayed legal. The independence around it got fenced. Number 15, the smokehouse. 40 steps behind my house stands mine, same spot the old one stood. Cool smoke from a slow, smoldering hickory fire does 2 jobs at once. It dries the surface of meat and fish, and it lays down compounds that keep spoilage from taking hold. Our people smoked fish on the rivers of the Northwest, smoked venison in these hills, and hung the winter in the rafters. Keep the fire small and far from the meat. Keep the smoke under about 90 degrees for a true cold smoke, and give it days, not hours, under about 90 degrees. And notice something starting to repeat as we go. The moment one of these old ways touches money, a rule appears. A backyard smokehouse can even need a building permit in some towns. Hold on to that pattern. It's marching us straight toward that one word I promised you. Number 14, The root cellar. Dig down past the frost line, and the earth holds near 55 degrees all year long, winter and summer both. 55 degrees for free forever. That's why root cellars kept potatoes, squash, apples, and jars sound from October clear to May. Our people used dug storage and cave storage on this land long before anybody framed a house over one. If you build one today, in many counties that excavation and structure needs a permit and an inspection. And I'm not saying skip it. I'm saying sit with the fact that the refrigerator, which quits in every outage and bills you every month, needs no permission at all, while the hole in the ground that never fails is paperwork. Number 13, the buried pantry, which brings us back to that clay pot under my hickory tree. The cash pit is one of the oldest food systems in the world. The old ones dug a pit in dry ground, lined it with bark and dried grass, filled it with dried corn, dried squash, and nuts, sealed it tight, and covered it over so clean you could stand on it and never know. Cool, dark, stable, and hidden from every raccoon in the county. Dried food only, sealed hard against damp, in ground that drains. That's the whole method, and it still works exactly as well as it did 1,000 years ago. My family used that pot into my own lifetime. 10,000 years of testing. That's the guarantee on this one. Number 12, the crock on the counter, fermentation. Vegetables, salt, water, thyme. Our people fermented corn and other foods long before anybody printed the word probiotic on a label. The salt lets the good souring take hold and holds the spoilage back, and the food gets easier to digest, not harder. About 1 tablespoon of salt to a quart of water for a brine. Vegetables held under the surface, and a cool corner of the kitchen. 1 tablespoon, 1 quart. In a week or two, you'll have food that keeps for months with no electricity at all. Sell a jar of it at a market without a license. And in most states, you've committed an offense. Set it on your own supper table, and you've joined one of the oldest kitchens on earth. Number 11, the stone fish trap. Walk certain rivers in this country at low water, and you can still see them. Lines of stone laid in a V, pointing downstream, built by hands hundreds and sometimes thousands of years ago. A fish weir funnels the current, and the fish with it into a narrow throat where a woven basket waits. No hook, no hours, no luck involved. It's brilliant, and it's also illegal for you and me in nearly every state today under modern conservation law because a weir works too well. In parts of the Northwest, our people hold fishing rights by treaty that courts have upheld, and that's a story of its own. For the rest of us, this one is knowledge to carry, not a project to build, but understanding why it works, reading current, reading how fish move, will make you better with a plain legal rod than most men on the bank. Number 10, reading the trails. Same lesson with snares. A snare is nothing but a loop of cordage set where an animal already walks. And the real skill was never the loop. It was the reading. Rabbits and other small game run the same worn paths night after night, little tunnels through the grass you'll never notice until an old hand shows you. My uncles could kneel by a trail and tell you what walked it, which way, and when. Today, trapping of any kind is tightly regulated, licensed in some states, banned outright in others, so you check your state before you ever set anything, period. But learn to see the trails, the pinch points, the tracks and droppings, and the woods turned from scenery into a book you can read. That skill is legal everywhere, and it's the foundation under everything else. Number 9, leather softer than money can buy. Our people out on the plains tanned hides using the animal's own brains, worked into the scraped skin. And here's the piece that stops people cold. Nearly every animal carries just about enough brains to tan its own hide. The fats and compounds in the brain coat the fibers so they dry soft instead of stiff. And then wood smoke sets the job permanently so the hide can be wetted and dried without going hard again. I've tanned hides with Lakota friends up north, days of scraping and working, And the buckskin that comes off that work is softer than anything in a store. Do it for yourself, perfectly legal with a lawful hide. Start selling wildlife parts, and you step into a thick book of state and federal rules. The craft is free, the commerce is fenced. Number 8, rope growing wild, dogbane and yucca. Dogbane stands chest high along field edges with a reddish stem, and its inner bark strips out into fibers that twist up stronger than you'd credit. Yucca, out in the dry country, carries fiber in every leaf. You strip the fibers, take 2 bundles, twist each one the same direction, and wrap them around each other the opposite way. Twist and wrap, and the rope binds itself tight. One caution, plain as I can say it. Dogbane is for your hands, never your mouth. It's toxic to eat, fine to work. Our people made bowstrings, nets, and bindings this way for thousands of years, and on most public lands today, harvesting plant material without a permit is against the rules. The ditch beside your own drive, though, might be growing free rope right now. Number 7, the warmest cold weather home ever engineered. I have slept winters in teepees at 20 degrees below zero on the northern plains with our people out there, and I was warm, 20 below. The teepee is not a tent, it's engineering. The cover, the inner liner, and the gap between them pull fresh air up from the ground and feed the fire while the smoke draws straight out the top, and the liner holds a blanket of warmed air around the sleeping space all night. No modern tent I've owned matches it. And in most counties in America, you cannot legally live in one full time because a teepee doesn't meet the dwelling code. A structure that kept whole nations alive through plains winters for 1,000 years doesn't qualify as a house. I'll let you sit with that one. Number 6, cooking in the ground. Dig a pit. Line it with dry stones. Never creek stones because waterlogged rock can burst in the heat. Dry stones only. Burn a hard fire down to coals, rake it, lay in your food wrapped in green leaves or foil, cover it with earth, and walk away for the afternoon. The stones hold the heat for hours and the earth seals it, and meat comes out of a pit oven falling apart tender. Our people cook this way from these hills to the coast. I still cook over open fire every week at my place, and half the year now, burn bans and open flame ordinances would make that pit unlawful across much of the country. Some of those bans are good sense in a drought. Just notice how far the fire has been pushed from daily life. That thread runs straight to number 1. Number 5, the firewood lying on the ground. Walk any national forest and you'll see winter's worth of dead and downed wood rotting where it fell. The old rule was simple, and it was ours. Take the dead, leave the living, and the woods stay healthy. Because clearing deadfall is part of tending a forest, not robbing it. Today, gathering that same dead wood in a national forest requires a paid permit with limits and seasons, and in some areas, it's not allowed at all. On your own land, that oak blowdown is free heat, about a cord of wood in one good tree, if you're willing to work for it. And mind you, we are only 2 numbers away from the fire story and the one word behind this whole video. Almost there. Number 4, giving it all back. I'll say this one plain and keep it dignified. Nothing our people took from the land was wasted, and that included everything the body returned. Composted properly with dry material, time, and heat, human waste becomes safe soil again. And folks living far off grid use modern composting toilets to do exactly that, cleanly and without odor. Done right, it's careful, layered, and left to cure for a year or more. A year or more. No shortcuts. Yet in a great many counties, the law requires a full septic system even on remote land where no line will ever run, and an approved composting setup is either buried in permits or not recognized at all. The land has always known how to close the circle. The paperwork is still learning. Number 3, the garden they find. Corn, beans, and squash, planted together in one mound. The 3 sisters. My grandmother's garden ran on it, and mine still does. The corn stands tall and gives the beans a pole to climb. The beans feed the soil, pulling nitrogen out of the air and fixing it at the roots. The squash spreads wide and low, shading out weeds and holding the moisture in. 3 plants, each solving the other's problems. No fertilizer bill, no weed spray. It's one of the finest pieces of agricultural engineering on this continent. And in neighborhoods across America, homeowner associations and city ordinances ban vegetable gardens in the front yard. And real families have been fined and taken to court over tomatoes and squash where grass was required. A working 10,000-year-old food system outlawed in favor of a lawn. Number 2, grandmother's salve and the law of the label. Ada made a salve every year. Plantain and other backyard plants in rendered fat for scrapes, dry hands, and insect bites. Everyday comfort from 10 steps off the porch. You can make that for your own family today, freely, anywhere in this country. But the moment you sell a jar of it with one claim on the label, you answer to federal law, licensing, and labeling rules. Now, some of those rules exist for honest reasons, and I won't pretend otherwise, but see what it means in practice. The knowledge can't easily be sold, so nobody with money ever had a reason to teach it. And knowledge nobody profits from teaching is knowledge that quietly disappears. There was never a dime in telling you what grows free in your backyard. Hold that thought. We have arrived. Number 1, the fire they arrested. For thousands of years, our people in California and across this land set small, cool, deliberate fires. Cultural burning. Low flames moving slow through the understory in the right season, clearing the brush, feeding the oaks and the meadows, keeping the big catastrophic fires from ever finding enough fuel to be born. The land was shaped by those hands in that fire. Then, starting in the early 1900s, that burning was outlawed. People were punished for it. For close to a century, total fire suppression was the law of the forest, and the fuel piled up decade after decade until the megafires came, burning hotter and bigger than anything the old ones ever allowed to exist. And now, in our own time, the state of California is partnering with tribes and paying to bring cultural burns back, relearning from our people what was a crime to practice for 100 years. The old ones were right the whole time. The proof is written across the mountains in smoke. So why? Why did all 25 of these end up fenced in with fines and permits? Nobody sat in a dark room plotting against your grandmother's rain barrel. And I promised you an honest answer, not a spooky one. The answer is one word: product. Every rule we walk past today was written to manage products, things that are manufactured, bought, sold, metered, labeled, inspected, and taxed. A product leaves a paper trail, so the system knows exactly how to say yes to it. But rain off your roof has no barcode. A fire that heals a forest sends no invoice. A hole in the ground that keeps corn for 3 winters bills nobody. It was never that the old ways failed. It's that they were free, and free doesn't fit the forms, and what the paperwork can't say yes to, it tends to say no to. That's the whole mystery. And number 1 is the proof. Because when California finally needed the fire back, they didn't invent a product. They walked back to our people and asked them to remember. And remembering is the whole reason the book exists, because my grandmother handed me all of this for free. And there are 101 of those old ways written out plain in the Native American way, so they don't die with me. The remedies, the wild foods, the survival skills, and the kitchen, everyone taught step by step the way the elders taught me around 1,000 fires. $17, down from $47. $17 one time against a pharmacy aisle, a grocery bill, and a sporting goods store, for knowledge with 10,000 years of testing behind it. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap and it will take you straight to the book. And if you're watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So there it is. 25 old ways, water to fire. Everyone free or nearly free. Everyone older than the rules that fenced it, and now everyone written down. Tell me in the comments where your people are from, and if there's native blood in your family line, like there is in so many American families. I'd be honored to hear the story. I read every single one. Next time, I'm going to show you the 3 plants standing in your backyard right now that my grandmother called her winter pharmacy, including the one everybody rips out as a weed that she treasured above anything she planted on purpose. Wado, my friends, that means thank you. Walk easy, and I'll see you down the trail.